Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, that quest for the ring has spanned platforms, formats, and generations, and it's still ongoing. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals. We pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in a light and in a conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are, keep listening. Subscribe, mash that notifications button, do what you got to do. Because we're on all podcast providers of choice. Basically, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we'd really appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok, I think, and probably a few other places at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So do us that kindness, come on by and pay us a visit. Well, we're back in the saddle once more, like we ever left, really, but, work gets overwhelming at times, what am I going to say? But there's lots going on, there's lots to do, there's lots to talk about, so enough of my babbling, let's get to it, because on this episode, we are going into Lord of the Rings of Power, which is wrapping up its second season pretty soon. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down and talking with one of the directors of the show, Charlotte Brandstrom, and her director of photography, Alex Disenhof, to talk about just sort of shooting the show and sort of crafting a real look for it all, and taking us, immersing us into these worlds. And I mean, which, it's weird because it's television, but they're really making something that's sort of, theatrical, for lack of a better term, and they're putting in some great work. And if you don't already know, or if you haven't already checked it out, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, is available with our friends over at Prime Video. So go check that out, catch up, because like I said, season 2 is, if it's not done already, it's almost done. It's getting there. But enjoy our talk with Charlotte and Alex to get a little bit insight on the look and the feel of such a huge show like Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which, like I said, it's on Prime now. But first, listen to this, because it's a good one. Obviously, Charlotte, Alex, first off, just thank you so much for the time today. And I mean, congratulations on your work on the show.
Thank you.
Now, I mean, I'm curious, this is for both of you, but I mean, I'm kind of curious. Did you know that you were both going to get to finish season 1 and start season 2? Because I mean, especially in episodic television, it seems like a bit of a happy accident to sort of have the same team together to go through sort of that kind of a big arc. Was that by design, or did that just kind of happen?
Well, I guess when we got season 1, we didn't know. We sort of, Alex and I met in New Zealand during a pandemic. We were sitting not together, but we were both in quarantine, communicating on Zoom. We had never met. Yeah. And starting to prep season 1 in our hotel rooms, guarded by the New Zealand Army at the gates. Yeah. So we couldn't leave our rooms for 2 weeks. And then when we got out of there, we just had to prep very, very quickly.
We shot on top of a mountain 2.5 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then we were off to the races.
So then I said, this collaboration is going to work.
Yeah.
And then we created this really look in season 1, after the Mount Doom explosion and the ashes and the orange light. We did a lot of tests, and we were able to create our own look of Middle Earth, since it was a look that hadn't been seen before. And Alex came in with a very interesting idea, which was he's very inspired by the wildfires in California, the real stuff. So I think that we both liked real images to bring some reality to it, even though it's fantasy. And then when we finished our episodes in season 1, they contacted us pretty quickly and asked us if we wanted to start and finish season 2 together.
I love it.
And that was it. Yeah. So it sounds easy, but it wasn't that quick. But yeah.
No, I mean, I'm curious because obviously, like you say, this is a fantasy show, but you're enjoying real images. How do you, I mean, particularly even in the early days when you're sort of pre-planning over Zoom, because you've got to shoot stuff that's not going to be there. I can imagine that sort of creates an interesting challenge in and of itself, especially when you're sort of planning shots and doing storyboards and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be surprised on this show because this show, more than any other show that I've been a part of, builds almost everything.
Right.
So, even though there are enormous amounts of visual effects, there's very few instances where it's an actor and a blue stage. There it does happen. There's certain times, but almost always there's a pretty large set involved, which gives us kind of a base to work with and understand. And then, the visual effects department can take my lighting and extend it into a bigger, set that we can achieve because, we're not actually in Middle Earth. We're like on an airfield in England. But I think that the hardest ones are maybe the creatures, but we have a great collaboration with Jason Smith, our visual effects artist, knowing that those don't exist, right? The troll doesn't exist. We have a big stick with a cardboard head out and big feet and a big balloon to lay on. There's a few things we can look at, but ultimately it does take some imagination. And I think it's probably harder for the actors, to be honest. I think for us, it's like if the set is there, that goes a long way.
You tell an actor, can you look at the dot there? And that's actually a troll coming in and about to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And that little dot, and then the dot is actually moving a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
How would an experience like this differ from maybe something where one of you would be brought in for one episode? Because obviously having this arc of the three and then the two sort of connected together, and then obviously you're going to get the two at the end, it definitely feels like you're allowed to have connective tissue, which doesn't always happen, especially when it comes to television.
No, it's true. And also, let's remember that these are, I mean, we're shooting over long periods of time because, for instance, we starting shooting in England and then we actually went to the Canary Islands for episode 1, but that was only happening in March. So that we had a break in between where we could prep other things and do other things. So you have time to think about it a lot over a long period of time. And that's actually exciting. That's very exciting. And also, as you say, connective tissue, because it's a lot about setup and payoff. So I could set up stuff in episode 1 that I knew was going to pay off in episode 8, like Adar's death. I mean, and I wanted to be very similar to the way that he tortured Sauron and tried to kill Sauron. So when Sauron goes at Adar, all the orcs are lining around him and stabbing him the same way. Mm. So yeah, so there's a lot of connective tissue there.
Yeah. You get to live in it. I mean, we were there for a full year for 4 episodes. And so you really get to kind of absorb the world that you're in and then kind of, really think about how you're gonna connect the dots as you go.
I mean, obviously, you've got the showrunners and you're working under them. And I mean, I'm always curious how much rope they give you in terms of allowing sort of both your creativity to sort of come out and show on the screen.
I think it's collaboration. They're there when we rehearse, and when they feel like something we come up with that's actually better the way the actors move around or something that doesn't work that they had thought. I think that they've been very good and very open to make changes.
I think everything's on the table with
everything's on the table with them, and they're very collaborative. They are actually a pleasure to work with, I must say.
There's such scope in this show. And I mean, obviously, just the nature of the Lord of the Rings and sort of Middle Earth allows for that. But at the same time, these are things that are never getting to be shown on the big screen, except for like, the odd promotional thing. For you both, like, how do you think the television world still manages to be cinematic in the way that you guys are doing here in the show?
People's televisions are getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And the sound is getting better and better too, right?
Yeah.
They have sound installation. As far as I know, TV screens aren't like the way they used to. Before I started in TV, everybody had a very small TV. So you have to go in for close-ups all the time it was really important to do close-up. Now it's not so important anymore because people have large screens. Except for those who are watching in their computers, and they have their computers right here anyway, very close to their faces. But people enjoy they enjoy the home cinema the more and more, I think. Everybody.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I think that you can't change your instincts and the way you're going to shoot something based on what you perceive someone will watch it on. You can't make a series like this thinking, well, 20% of people are going to watch on their iPhone. Yeah. So, because then you will start to make compromises that aren't true to what you would normally do. Ultimately, whether it's destined for television or a movie screen, you just are trying to tell the best story visually that you know how.
Now, I'm curious, Charlotte, for you, is there a different level of emotional investment in something like this where obviously you're getting a longer arc, you're getting to be more involved as opposed to maybe a different show where you're coming in for, say, a one-off?
Completely. Completely, because you have time to work with the characters. As I said, you have time to set it up. You actually have time to do some post, because this is a show where you have to keep editing throughout, because you need to deliver scenes every week to VFX, because VFX takes such a long time to do. So you need to actually I would go, I mean, my days are very long. I get up early in the morning, I rehearse, we shoot. After that, we either block the next day or we go on the scout, and then I'm in the cutting room. So, and that's really almost every day when you're shooting. So it's like easily 15, 16-hour days. And you have to, because VFX, in order to be ready, because the delivery schedule, I mean, we finished shooting last summer, and now it's a year later, and they were able to do VFX, and which is a huge amount of work in 1 year.
Yeah.
Thousands of shots.
Yeah.
I mean, I did another show I did an episode of was Shogun, and it was a different process, but they took 2 years in editing, in post, to finish.
Wild.
So,
Now, I mean,
so it's a lot of work.
for the both of you, just put a bow on this. Can you talk about the importance of, I guess, having a second-hand or relationship between the director and the cinematographer? Because it feels like it's one that gets undercut a lot, especially when it comes to storytelling. But I mean, just I can tell even by talking to the both of you, having sort of a bit of a shorthand almost, I can imagine would have helped.
Oh yeah, we know each other very well. We actually sit in the same tent now when we work during the day. And I'm very Alex is with his DIT. I'm there with the script supervisor, and we sit next to each other. And whenever a take is finished, we look at each other to make sure that we can move on.
Yeah.
Are you be good with this? And also we talk about the lighting, we talk about the look, and if something doesn't feel right to me, Alex tries to fix it immediately, and vice versa. When I do something and he said, this doesn't look right, you can't have him walk through that light there. I have to fix this. So we're trying to, I think what we're trying, it's a lot of respect. You try to respect everybody's work, and every department is important. And by letting everybody be as good as they can, they want to give their best. And I feel it's really important, but that's not only between us, it's like the whole crew.
Yeah.
It's like you pay attention to sound, and if sound's not happy, you try to fix it. And if makeup is unhappy, you try to fix that too. It's really keeping a crew happy. I think it's the key to making good films. I mean, to me anyway.
Yeah, and we're friends, and at this point, we worked with each other more than I think anyone else in my career that I've worked with, and we
200 days
and we can be really honest with each other. I think when we think
this
it's
looks horrible, Alex.
yeah, and then the only problem is that you're always cold and I'm always hot. And that's the only thing when we share a tent. But other than that,
it's cold. I sit with a down jacket, and Alex is sweating in a t-shirt.
Yeah. So.
I love that you brought up that idea of respect, though, because I mean, especially in the arc of episodes that you got to work on, that's where I really felt sort of the spirit of not only what you guys are doing, but what Jackson did, and I mean the spirit of Tolkien, all sort of coming together to really give us this sort of energetic view of these characters and everything that's been going on. And I mean, just to me, that's where it was the most fun. But just again, thank you for the work again, and thank you so much for the time, and I can't wait to see the last two. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.